Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be ranking all of the Scott Pilgrim fights in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. So without further ado, let's get started. In the number 6 spot is Scott vs. Lucas Lee. Now I believe that Scott Pilgrim has no bad fights. I even think this fight is amazing, but it just can't really stand out against the rest. This fight does have good moments though. I liked how all the stunt doubles joined in. There was a few good jokes, like when Lucas pretends to help Scott up. And the ending of the fight, when Lucas does that grindy thingy, is pretty cool because it keeps switching between perspectives. In the number 5 spot is Scott vs Roxy Richer. This fight felt unique as it wasn't really Scott doing the fighting, as he was basically being puppeted for half of it. I also really like Ramona's part of the fight. I think it made the fight more interesting, as it's clear that Ramona and Roxy's breakup was the worst out of all of her exes. Roxy's weapon is really cool too, and unique. Her weak point was quite unexpected to say the least, and originally, in the comics, it was Envy who had the knee weak spot. In the number 4 spot is Scott vs Todd Ingram, one of the longer fights, but it's still good. At first, Scott just gets thrashed and thrown around, and it actually seems like he has no chance. But when the base fight starts, the fight picks up so much. It gets so intense. Todd's vegan powers are also insane, as he's overpowered, as he has telekinesis, mind reading and enhanced strength, while Scott only has enhanced strength and fighting ability. The end of the fight is also funny, with the vegan police taking Todd's powers away because he got tricked into drinking milk. In the number 3 spot is Scott vs Matthew Patel, the first fight of the movie and one of the best in terms of actual fighting and comedy. Matthew's solo song is also just iconic and probably one of the most known scenes from Scott Pilgrim as a whole. And his power set is just so random, mixing cheerleader demon chicks and fireballs together is just bizarre. Scott showing his moveset is also really good, with his combo of punches, fast reflexes and his enhanced strength. In the number 2 spot is Scott vs Gideon Graves. I'm pretty sure this is the longest fight in the movie, but it's so good. With the first round, Scott fighting for not himself but Ramona, which is represented with the power of love, but ultimately it ends in his defeat. Then, during the second round, Scott's actually fighting for himself, as he's using the power of self-respect, showing how the fight is no longer for Ramona. The stakes for this fight are also really high, as if Scott loses, Sex Bomb will stay in Gideon's possession, and Scott will also lose Ramona. Gideon's pixel sword is also pretty cool. He gains it by doing hand signs. When Gideon uses his sword, it shows the huge power gap between Scott and Gideon, as Scott's self-respect sword gets shattered. Overall, just a great fight, and the parts when Ramona and Knives help Scott in the fight are good too. Now, in the number 1 spot, we have Scott vs the Katy and Nagy twins. Of course, this was going to be at the number 1 spot. I don't even know how to put into words how good this fight is. Not a single word is spoken from Scott towards the twins, and I know that's because the twins' actors didn't speak English, but it just made the fight unironically so much better. The twins' ice dragons and Sex Bomb's Yeti are so cool, and the designs are just amazing. Also, the fact that the entire band of Sex Bomb is in this fight makes it so much cooler. We have multiple characters fighting for different reasons, as Stephen and Kim are fighting for the band, but Scott is fighting to catch up to Gideon and get Ramona back. Honestly, just a great fight. The visuals are amazing, the setting is also amazing, it's uncontested. This fight was made for the number 1 spot on this list. Well, that's all from me. Did you agree or disagree with my list? If so, please let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one.